friend Afro sent me this video titled The Biggest Misconception in Pokemon, and to put it bluntly, this video sucks. The points in this video were super shoddy and honestly just felt like this guy was coping the entire time, and the arguments that he used to support them were just absurd. Before I get into covering the actual video, I just want to say, Pokey, if you end up seeing this, I don't hate you or anything, bro. I know this might be kind of like weird considering the little chat that we had on Discord, but this video sucked and I'm sorry, I have to talk about this. Also, if I sound a little bit off, it's because I have already covered his points in a different video that I was planning on making, but since I'm gonna be reworking that video, I'll just cover this video on its own.
Now let's make 3 boxes to make sure Ash-Greninja is truly quote-unquote retconned. Number 1, is the impact that Ash-Greninja left off still visible and still existent? Number 2, is the form itself still existent? And number 3, do the Pokemon Company still acknowledge Ash-Greninja's existence?
His first point for Ash-Greninja not being retconned was the fact that the vines from XYZ were still there, but the footage that he shows literally has regular Greninja sensing and destroying the vines from Journeys, and he himself says that it's not necessarily an Ash-Greninja specific thing, but more so specific to Greninja itself.
The effects and impact that Ash-Greninja had in XY still lingers in Journeys. We know this because Ash-Greninja, or Greninja specifically, was able to destroy and still sense the vines like he was doing in XYZ, meaning Greninja in XYZ, or his part at least, is still canon.
His reasoning for Greninja not being in the Ash-Greninja form when Ash went to visit him in Journeys was the fact that he didn't have Ash himself.
Before we continue on and check out this box, let me answer a few questions you guys might have. Why wasn't Greninja in Ash-Greninja state then? And that's a simple question to answer. It's simply that he didn't have Ash. He didn't have someone to bond with to regain that form.
Which, yeah, that is true, but that doesn't really speak to the validity of the point that the vines are tied to Ash-Greninja, considering the fact that we can see that regular Greninja is plenty capable of doing the weed whacking without having to transform, and even when Ash did get there, they didn't transform. You could argue that it wasn't necessary for them to do so, but come on, bro, that would have been like perfect fan service. This next point is going over if Ash-Greninja is still present in modern day Pokemon, and his example for this is Greninja showing up in like 4 seconds of the intros for Pokemon Journeys. This is combined, mind you, not 4 seconds in one, the other, or even both. This is 4 seconds combining every single frame that they show up in the intros.
And I know the Ash-Greninja haters are going to be fuming after this, but this is the clip where the Pokemon Company acknowledges Ash-Greninja's existence. And as you see here, this is a opening from the Aim to Be a Pokemon Master series, and they showed Ash-Greninja not only once in the dub version of the opening, but in the Japanese version of the opening as well.
You hear that, fellas? He made the Japanese opening too. Our boy's in the big leagues. You tell him, girl. Show those haters who's boss.
And I know there's already going to be people typing in the comments saying stuff like, oh, this is about like Ash's memories, this is just in an opening, it doesn't count. Which, if you are typing something along those lines, you're already proving my point even further.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Which brings us back to the definition of retcon in general, which why would the Pokemon Company, right, retcon Ash-Greninja as you say so, and then further brings it back and puts it into the opening of the finale of the freaking series.
To call this them bringing Ash-Greninja back feels like such a stretch. It doesn't even make like an actual appearance in the show. It's literally just in the opening, and it's not even for that long. This is without even mentioning the fact that this is like 10-year-old reused footage. His last point is that because the Pokemon Company uploaded the battle between Ash and Alon when recounting Ash's greatest battles, Ash-Greninja's not retcon.
And even if you want to disregard all of what I just said, and even if this whole opening ordeal didn't exist, the Pokemon Company sent out a YouTube video on their official YouTube channel listing out all of Ash's best Pokemon fights. And man oh man, guess which fights did they put in that video? Yup, you know it, you guessed it, Ash-Greninja's fight in the Pokemon League, further acknowledging the fact that Ash-Greninja still exists and is canon to the franchise.
The thing with this is, do you expect them to reanimate the whole fight just so they can exclude Ash-Greninja from it? That's ridiculous, and what would the point of that even be? We already know the outcome of the battle. I don't see why they would go out of their way to remove Ash-Greninja from that. Like, sure, you could be like, that's an argument towards Ash-Greninja not being retconned, but again, this is reusing footage from like 10 years ago, and it would be completely nonsensical for them to go out of their way to reanimate that just to remove Ash-Greninja. Now, that's all I wanted to cover for the video, but the pinned comment that he put in the video that addresses some of the points that people have against Ash-Greninja not being retconned, it was pretty dumb, and honestly, the points used in the comment were even worse than the ones present in the actual video itself. First, he says that Ash-Greninja doesn't really make sense being in Scarlet and Violet because Scarlet and Violet center around entirely new gimmicks, and to say that Ash-Greninja not being in the game means that it's retconned is comparable to Ultra Necrozma being retconned because it's not in Scarlet and Violet. The thing with that is that these two really aren't comparable at all. For starters, the whole bit about it not making sense to have Ash-Greninja in Scarlet and Violet because it uses a different gimmick, that's stupid, bro. It made just as little sense for Ash-Greninja to be in Sun and Moon, and those games also used a separate gimmick, and yeah, that was back before they started phasing megas out of the series, but Ash-Greninja is no more of a mega than something like Zenmo Darmanitan, or to a lesser extent Palafin Hero form. It's an entirely separate thing within the Greninja species, and not including it because they're using terrestrialization or whatever now is stupid, especially considering the fact that it doesn't actually take up the gimmick slot in Sun and Moon, which means that it's even closer to not being a mega. As for Ultra Necrozma not being in the game, that actually makes more sense because Ultra Necrozma is specifically tied to a gimmick being Z moves. In order to use Ultra Burst, you need to have a Z Crystal and a Z Ring, and it doesn't make sense to include an entire gimmick just so that one form can be present, or exclusively have that gimmick present just for that one form to be there and not let any other Pokemon use it. Everything that you would need in order to get Ash-Greninja is still present in the game, while that's not the case for Ultra Necrozma because it's missing like half of the components that it needs in order to obtain that form. Now, to end this off, finally covering his last point, where he was like, a single frame in a flashback does not prove that Ash-Greninja is retconned. That's stupid. Why does a frame drawn in a flashback where they intentionally removed Ash-Greninja not count towards it being retconned, but 4 seconds of reused animation does point towards Ash-Greninja not being retconned? Now, is Ash-Greninja actually retconned? Fucking, I don't know, bro. I just wanted to call this guy a retard. I guess it doesn't fit the exact definition of a retcon, but they certainly are going out of their way to make sure that it's not being represented. I mean, when's the last time that anything new related to Ash-Greninja came out? Who knows, maybe Legend ZA will come out and vindicate this guy despite the fact that he made himself look like a complete tard here. Oh, and also, this guy sounds like a female. Bye.